Guys, we are here for another live chat. Let me turn that's actually my phone there that's making that repeat there. We're here for another live chat here in the MagMod community, this time with Tracie Maglosky. Tracie, thanks so much for joining us.
Hi, thanks.
Awesome. I'm excited about this one, Tracie. I was just telling you a second ago that I think this is the first time we've done one of these where we have a photographer that photographs children. I know you do a lot of other things as well, but in fact, even behind you, we can see a few photos of the babies and things like that. Can you tell us a little bit about what you like to photograph or what you mainly shoot?
I do shoot a lot of children. I do newborns and maternity, and I also do my share of weddings. But my primary focus is on maternity and newborn and children because my families kind of grow into our studio. So
that's awesome. I got to say, as a wedding photographer myself, I will come home from a shoot with a family or newborn or children, and I tell my wife I would rather shoot a 13-hour wedding than an hour and a half newborn session because they are tough. It is tough.
Yeah.
Now you have to stay in a really warm environment. You got to have a lot of patience and make sure you kind of nurture that child. Make sure you get that right moment. I would almost rather just shoot people partying. So my hat's off to you for being able to do that, and all you newborn photographers.
Feels like hot yoga when you shoot newborns. That's what that feels like.
Exactly. Well, that's awesome. Well, thanks so much for being here, Tracie. We're excited to have you on the live chat. Real quick, for those who are tuning in for the first time, you guys know that you're welcome, or for those who are watching for second or third time, we've done this probably close to 10 times now. But you guys feel free to leave comments, your likes and hearts and all that good stuff. We appreciate that. But if you guys have any questions for Tracie, by all means, let her know. And then, of course, Tracie, if you wouldn't mind, I typically will ask the people on these live chats, if just sometime throughout the day, if you wouldn't mind, maybe just checking the comments and seeing if anyone has any questions. A lot of times I'll try to tune in and help them out as well, but maybe if you wouldn't mind just checking and answer any questions that might pop up. Is that cool?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right on. Well, I already see people joining us. So, well, Tracie, let's do this. Let's just jump right in. There's a photograph that I saw. Again, we were just talking previously just a minute ago, and there was one shot you had. It was a child that had kind of a feather, looked like they're holding a basket of flowers of some kind. Can we start with that photograph? It was really the one that caught my eyes a lot. I just thought it was so cute, and I love the lighting that you have in it.
Sure.
There we
go. See if it's gonna work. Did it work?
You know what? It started sharing it, and then it looks like it stopped. Can we try it one more time? There it comes.
Here we are. So let's see if I can get back in there. It will go backwards. Maybe. Well, none of those.
There it is. That's the one. I love this shot.
Thank you. So this is Kyla, and every once in a while I get the opportunity to totally style a shoot from beginning to end. I choose everything about it, the outfits, the location, and everything down to the feather in her hair. And so it was an awesome opportunity for us on this particular night. The sun was setting just perfectly behind her. And I love to use MagMod to make a natural look in my images, and MagMod gives me the opportunity to do that on the fly. So especially in situations like this where we're climbing through a park to get to the location that's up on a hill or whatever, it's really nice to have MagMod with me for this kind of stuff. So I was trying to balance the ambient light that was coming into the back of her hair with the front light with my MagMods. And one of the things I like to do when I'm shooting against really strong backlight is I have a flash bracket that holds 2 flashes, and I'll take my 2 speed flashes on my flash bracket and put mag spheres on both, so I can get a soft and yet still strong enough light to get the lighting that I want on my subject, and not be overcome with the backlight, so I can still get the pretty light on the flowers and get colors in the back and not lose my background entirely.
I love it. It's a great idea, and the nice thing about having those 2 flashes is you can get extra power if you need it, or you can even shoot at lower powers because you're basically doubling that flash. So if you want to have a fast recycle time and things like that,
right.
So you have you have a bracket. Do you remember what kind of brand bracket it is that you're using?
I don't know. I'm going to have to look it up and I'll put it on the feed. I cannot remember what it is.
And
Um,
that's okay. The only reason I ask is I know sometimes people have questions about kind of that equipment and stuff. So yeah, I mean, if you find it later and you can post it for everybody, that'd be great. If not, I don't think it's that big a deal. It's basically, just so everyone knows, it's kind of like a bracket that goes out and you just put two flashes on either one. Is that right?
Correct. And they're off camera. So I'm using off camera flash and high speed sync. So a lot of people ask me about, well, how do you get that light in the back to not be overblown if you aren't, I use high speed sync for any images that I'm doing this with. So that's important to note as well.
Nice, nice. Excellent. So perfect. Well, and Tracie, there's a comment here from Debojot. Oh, Debo, I'm sorry, I just slaughtered your name. Debojoti Biswas. She says, or he or she, I guess I can't really tell from the picture. It says, "Hi Tracie, love your work." So you're already getting the compliments.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So, well, I love this shot. Now, real quick, Tracie, you mentioned high speed sync. Is there a reason you choose to do high speed sync?
One of the reasons why I like high speed sync is because it allows me to still get that really great depth in my images. And so if I choose, to use high speed sync over, say, flattening out or shutting down my aperture, I can still get that great fuzzy feeling in the background. I still get that great disappearing blurred background. And yet I still can get a really sharp subject. So that's why I usually choose to do high speed sync with situations like this.
Awesome. No, that's a great explanation, because now you can keep your aperture nice and open, nice and wide,
Right.
and still get that depth of field that you're talking about, that nice bokeh behind the shot, and still be able to get nice exposure. So love it. And then Dave had a question for you as well. He's asking, do your clients purchase the outfits, or when you style these shoots, do you normally come with the outfits and everything yourself?
It's a great question, because actually the only way I can maintain complete creative control is if I buy everything and they just pay for it up front. So the way that it works is that I give myself a budget for my styled shoots, and I'll charge my client accordingly. So they know that for the shoot itself, they're going to pay X amount of dollars. And then the way our studio works, all of our images are purchased in print. So we don't give away digital files. So
Mm-hmm.
the images are then purchased in print after. So when someone comes in for what I call these muse sessions. So when they come in for a muse session, they pay a session fee that allows me to spend most of that money doing my props and my whatever kind of styling I want to do. And then the profit that we end up making ends up coming in on the print purchases. And clearly, like 90% of the people who come in and see an image like this of their child have to have it. And they usually want it in a fairly large format. So we generally have a great success selling images like this of people's children.
That's awesome. That's a great idea as well, Tracie, that to have that kind of control, to use the session fee essentially to, have that control in creating something that your clients are going to absolutely love, and that's unique and different for them. So
Yes.
that's a great tip. I'm glad that that question came up and that you were able to answer that. It's funny, we're getting a lot of questions already. If you don't mind, Tracie, before we go on to the next image, I just thought I would ask a few of these. Zeno's asking, as far as the speed lights, are they on top of each other? Like, is it one on top of another, or are they side by side? I believe the answer is side by side. Is that
Right.
correct?
Really, really great question. Yes, they're side by side. So the bracket there's a piece of the bracket that goes down into your C stand or your pole, whatever you're using, and then the flash brackets go off to the side. So there's a flash here and a flash here. A lot of times, if
Mm-hmm.
you take the head of your flashes and turn them out just a little bit, the softest light of the MagMod hits in the center right on your subject's face. So I'll take my mag spheres and turn my flashes out just a little bit so that the soft light it's like powder hitting them instead of it being straight on, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, you're kind of feathering that light a little bit. I like
Exactly.
it.
Yeah.
Very, very cool. And I apologize. We're getting so many questions, and guys, we love the questions, by the way, so keep them coming. But I'm just going to keep tossing them to you, Tracie.
Sure.
Adam Sparks is asking about the light kit. He's wondering what kind of light kit you're using. I believe you're using Olympus. Is that right?
Yes. So I'm an all Olympus shooter. I'm micro four thirds, completely mirrorless. I currently shoot with the EM1 Mark II. This shot was taken with the EM1, and I use Olympus flashes. So these were the original Olympus flashes, Olympus FL50Rs. And one of the things that I loved about MagMod is that it fit on the Olympus flashes, which are generally smaller than Canon or Nikon flashes. So MagMod for me was a great fit because it actually fit my specific brand, which is something that I was really in need of and looking for.
Yeah, you bring up a good point. Being that the Mag grip is the one size fit all, that it can fit the smaller flashes or the larger flashes. That's a great point.
Yep.
Yeah, awesome. And then it looks like there's two more questions. One is Raylin was asking, do you get a big variety of images and poses? So on these types of shoots, on these muse shoots, for example, are you doing? I'm assuming you're probably doing quite a variety, or do you normally just stick with kind of that one type of shot?
No, I actually did an entire set with this one. This particular model, I'll call her, because she looks like a model, has a little sister. And at the time, her little sister was very tiny, like 6 months old. And so there was a point at which we papoosed her on her back, and we just got to do a whole bunch of different things. Some of her staring off into the sunset, some of her, looking like the wind was blowing through her hair, into her just like kind of looking off. Um, and then some seated shots as well in the flowers. I try to get as much as we can. Like if we're going to do all this, I'm going to go out, I'm going to take as many images as I can. But one tip that I always try to give to photographers who are doing in-person sales is that, I always say this, a confused mind says no. So the more images you show, the more confusing it gets for a client. So it's kind of our job as photographers to know what the best images are and be able to present those to our clients. So 15 images, if I get beyond that, I'm starting to get into that confused zone where maybe I like that one or maybe I like that one. So if they're too close together and they look fairly similar, it's best for me just to eliminate one and then move on to the images that are going to have the greatest impact. So my biggest tip always is if you're doing in-person sales, it's, a confused mind says no. Cull it down to the very, very best, and you will have the greatest success selling your images, for sure.
Awesome tip. Really appreciate that. And you bring up that whole idea, that paradox of choice, right? You give people too many choices, and then they, like you said, their mind gets confused and they kind of just shut down. So
Right.
great tip. Really appreciate that, Tracie. Tracie, there's one more question that came in. I think I might be able to answer this myself. This one it comes from Genevieve. Genevieve is asking about, she says, could I use an ND filter instead to be able to keep my aperture low? And Genevieve, I think the simple answer to that is, yeah, you could. So instead of doing a high speed sync, you could throw an ND filter on your lens, basically darken it down, and still be able to keep that aperture nice and wide and low. So very cool. We got a couple people mentioning, like Adam says, whoa, EM1 shooter, very cool. So you're a unique blend of photographer, and you're getting the word out there, spreading the word of the EM love. So awesome. Tracie, with that, let's go ahead and move on to the next image. I know you have some really good ones that I want to make sure everyone gets a chance to see. So I'll let you take it from here. You can kind of share one and tell us a little bit about it, and then any questions pop up, I'll be sure to send those over to you.
Okay. Well, let's stick with the kids since I'm kind of rare in that I like shooting kids. So this image was taken in studio. And one thing I love about MagMod is how easy it is to use the gels. And it can take your creativity wherever you want it to go. So for this, another styled situation for us, we decided we were going to do Frozen shoots. And I'm sure anyone who has children knows what Frozen is.
Let it go.
And yeah, probably sick of Frozen, but by the end of these shoots, we were sick of Frozen too. But we made a Frozen set, and we brought little girls into the studio, and they got to be Elsa for a minute. And the the kids were amazing and so excited. And we did at the end of every shoot, we did a glitter blowing, and we had a blue gel on the background, and on the front we used mag spheres, and we just had an amazing turnout for these images and had so much fun creating them. So yeah, MagMod all the way with the gels, such fun to work with and to play with.
That's awesome. What a cute idea to get these kids feeling like little princesses, right? Have that kind of theme. And so the background it looks like it's almost like a painted tree background of some kind. Is that what it is back there?
Exactly, yes. hmm And then we
Very
just threw a
cool.
blue
And you
gel
just
on.
put a very light blue gel. Is that kind of what you did?
Yes. hmm Yes.
Okay.
And
Super
yeah, the
cute.
girls showed up. I mean, they came in like ready to be Elsa. Let me tell you what. It was fun. We had a really
That's awesome. And
the
then I
glitter
think one of the thing that, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
one important mention is that the glitter inside is very difficult to clean up. I recommend glitter outside.
No, that makes sense. Yeah. You had like 10 glitter bombs going off in your studio that day, huh?
It was fun.
Tracie, you mentioned something that was kind of unique and different. You had said that you'll actually use the MagSphere in studio as well. Is that right? Kind of for
Yes.
portraits?
Yeah, I will. And I, man, all over the place all the time. Because I can create the same feeling wherever I am. And again, I like to use MagMod to create natural looking portraits. That's kind of my thing. That's what I love to do. And I kind of like to leave people guessing about what the lighting was because I like it to look natural. And a lot of times people say to me, "Oh, it looks like you shoot natural light." And that's a huge compliment to me because that's exactly what I'm going for, is like a very natural look that matches my
Nice.
style. For sure. Yeah.
Nice. Very cool. Tracie, Esteban was wondering, as far as that blue light on the background, do you remember kind of your position of it? Was it coming from the top, like down, or was it from the side, or was it right behind them? Do you happen to remember where you might have had that blue light?
It actually was camera right in the back toward the background, and you can see a little bit of the blue light coming forward toward her dress too. If you
Uh-huh.
look on the
Oh
front
yeah.
part of her dress, you can see a little bit of blue light. So we actually had two going to kind of cool, because if you know anything about Frozen, then you know it's all about Frozen. So we
Yeah.
wanted to have a cooler look, but I wanted to preserve skin, so we didn't let the blue light fall too much on skin. We just wanted it on the background.
That makes sense. And Tracie, Justin was also wondering, as far as the placement of the mag spheres, it looks like, I'm guessing that it wasn't too far to the side. It was probably camera left just a little bit and just a little bit higher. I'm just looking at the catch light in the eyes, but it looks like he
You're
had it probably pretty close, just a tiny bit off to the side. Is that a fair assessment?
Yes, absolutely. Always off to the side a little bit higher than the subject and pointed down towards them just a little bit. hmm
Gotcha. Very cool. Love it. Thank you so much. Tracie, let's go ahead and let's check out some more of those shots.
Um, we'll we'll go to a wedding shot and see just like what we think.
Perfect.
So it's
That sounds
awesome when
really
you're
nice.
by yourself and you're trying to like do something awesome and different, and when you can just count on what you're doing because the MagMod works so well. So we have a bride lift up the back of the dress, and we have a MagMod, a mag sphere unflashed on a shoe on the floor in front of her, and just an on camera MagMod sphere on the camera flash. So we're able to create something that's really kind of sexy and pretty and fun, and super easy to do. Anyone can do that anytime. It's very fast, and just kind of a different value to the getting ready shots, which sometimes get left in the dust.
I love it. I think it's amazing. When you said anyone can do this, I think the mother of the bride might look at me a little bit strange if I ask her to lift up.
Okay, any female photographer can do this.
She'd be like, wait a second.
You want her to do
No,
what with?
yeah, you want to go under the dress? Tracie, tell us, was this shot in a room or was it shot outside or?
It's in a room. There's a venue that we shoot a lot that has like a really it's going to sound terrible when I say locker room, but it's a locker room at a golf club, so it's very nice. And there is some natural light coming in, but it's from really high up because it's
Mhm.
kind of a basement level kind of thing. So,
Yeah.
but it is inside on carpet, and black and white just seemed appropriate for it.
Super cute. I've seen a lot of bridal shots, and this is the first time I've seen something like this. And I love the way you use that light, almost kind of like you're framing the shot with that light behind it, creating a lot of that clean space. I love it. Awesome, awesome job.
All right, let's see here. Let's move to the next one. So
Cool.
again, this was maybe a year after I got MagMod, and I really fell into such a groove with it. I've been using MagMod for like 3 years. So I don't know exactly when MagMod first came on the scene, but it wasn't long after that that I found you and fell in love. I was like, I have to have this
Yeah,
stuff. And
that's awesome.
I like creating these natural, this natural looking light. And so this image was shot actually after a storm, which if you're a wedding photographer, the best sunset shots are right after really terrible storms. So
Yep.
whenever we have a storm, I'm like, yes, even though the brides are like, oh man. Um, so again, I love using two mag spheres on that flash bracket, camera right, letting that light come in and fill in any kind of shadows or anything, and it's still just so soft that it
Hmm.
provides the perfect lighting for just about any situation, honestly.
That's awesome. No, I appreciate that. So this was you did the two, it sounds like that's kind of your go-to light. Is that correct? Kind of the two mag spheres on a bracket?
Absolutely, it works every single time. And I love feathering them because sometimes, like, you can sometimes get that really harsh light in the middle, and it's nice to take them and feather them out and get that perfect light right in that center zone of the two mag spheres. And so I do use that as a go-to often, very often.
Very cool. Love it. Love it. Love it. Are you still shooting a lot of weddings in Tracie? Is that something that you do, during wedding
Ooh,
season?
I I used to be crazy and shoot like 45, and then as my portrait business grew, it became obvious that 45 weddings in a full portrait studio was going to be a bit much for me to chew on. So I started cutting back weddings just a little bit. And
Hmm.
now I would say my perfect number is 15. That's about where I live now, 15 a year. Um,
Nice.
the nice thing about that is I kind of get to pick and choose what I want to do, and that's nice and helpful.
That's
Um,
awesome. Awesome. Hey, real quick, Tracie, we had Jonathan is asking. He just said he missed the part where he talked about the two mag spheres on a bracket. So he's wondering if he heard that correct.
oh,
And yeah, Jonathan, it's two mag spheres on a bracket, and there's actually this can be replayed and watched again. And there's a section in the very beginning where we talked about that first image where Tracie goes in a little bit more detail about how that's set up. And then I think Tracie, she was going to see if you can find it and maybe post a picture. Is that right? Maybe later on.
absolutely. Sure.
Cool. Fantastic. Thank you, Tracie. So tell us about this one. This one looks like it's all natural lit, but you use some flash here as well. Is that right?
Yeah, some of the craziest things that you can do with MagMod, right, is that where I can't take, electricity by a pool, I can
Yeah.
use MagMod. And so, this takes several assistants, but one of the things that's the craziest thing about shooting underwater is that light isn't always as abundant as you would think it would be. And so, we have people kind of all over the water First of all, making sure that this bride doesn't drown in this gown because it gets heavy underwater. And
Yeah, it does.
secondly, making sure that the light is getting where we want it and everything. So underwater photography has been a newish passion of mine, and something that I really enjoy doing. And it does all the things that you hope you can get on land, like the hair flowing and the flowing material. Um, it gets all of those things done, and you just have to figure out the timing. So when we very first did the first underwater shoot, we realized how important it was to get the person coming up out of the water instead of the going down into the
Mm.
water, because the hair is not in the face and things like that. And we also quickly learned that while breathing is wonderful on land, underwater it makes really crazy bubbles. So you actually do have to kind of hold your breath when you're under there. But MagMod was awesome because we were able to shoot some light through the water and get it to our subjects so they weren't completely dark. Where you see some of these brighter sunlight parts, it could have been that the other parts of her would have been really dark without that MagMod addition,
Hmm.
camera right and camera left. So yeah.
That's cool. I've never shot underwater, but when I'm looking at this, it's inspiring me to give it a try. And I think what would be fun about this, Tracie, I don't know if you've ever done this, but I almost think it'd be fun to have somebody in the water and use like a mag beam and take this focused beam of light,
Oh,
uh,
yeah.
almost like try to darken it down and get this beam of light, coming through the water and hitting you and the subject. That would be really cool, I think.
That would
Now
be
I want
cool.
to try
Yeah,
it.
underwater, it's so fun, and it's a totally different experience because, where you're normally, if you're at a wedding especially, and you know this really well, there's all this chaos around you while you're shooting. And so you're focused on a million different things. And I always kind of laugh when I look at a picture. I think, all the different settings that are going through your mind and all the different light placements and the posing and, the interaction with your people and the connection and all of that. When you're underwater, you like get underwater and the water gets in your ears and everything is silent. And it's
Yeah.
such a cool experience to be able to shoot with that kind of, it's a totally different thing. It's really neat. You should try it. I think you'd like it.
Yeah, no, I think I might. I'll have to get the casing for my camera, but I think it'd be fun to try. So, no, thank you for sharing that shot.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Um, we'll move over here to this one because we talked about maternity a little bit. Um,
Uh-huh.
and this is one of the things that I love doing in our studio is maternity sessions. And I love shooting at the blue hour. MagMod is awesome for the blue hour. And just when it starts to get dark and you start to feel, the clouds and the night kind of shutting down, and it's, right after sunset. And a lot of people
Yeah,
stop shooting right. I love blue hour. Um, so we use MagMod for that as well, and can create some really just impactful images because you get that great definition in the clouds where the dark blue is there, and you can still light your subject so beautifully. And with light placement, right, you can do some really nice shaping for people, um, where you decide to place the shadow. So I love MagMod for stuff like this too.
so on this one, it looks like it was camera left just a little bit, maybe just a tad bit higher than the subject because I see the shadow underneath the chin.
Yep.
Did you use the two mag spheres again on the bracket? Was that your go-to here? Do you remember?
I only used one for this one. I only used one mag sphere. And you're right, it was camera left up just a little higher than subject and then shooting down.
Yeah. Very nice. I love the shape that you have on her, and I love how on that right side of her you see a little bit of that shadow and shape that really gives her that definition, brings out the maternity, and it almost looks like there's a light back there, but that might just be the sun giving her a little bit of that rim light on her on the rear port there.
Yeah, it's interesting because this was actually, as a, I'll just say it like this: the place where she's standing is a stone structure, and it's very light colored, like a
Hmm.
like a really gray color. So anytime you're in a place like that, you get that reflection off of all the surfaces around you. And sometimes things like
Gotcha.
that are a little bit surprising because the sky looks dark, but it's still reflecting back some of that stone structure to her. And, I was going to say, whenever I want to create a little more drama, if I use one mag spear, so in this image, I wanted a little bit more drama. And so I used one mag spear instead of that two mag spear on the bracket, feathered a little bit. So it just kind of depends on what I'm going for, whether or not I'll use one or two.
Love it. Very nice. Beautiful image.
Thank you. And then this one I'll share just because I'm an Ohio photographer, and every once in a while you get blessed with an opportunity to go somewhere and shoot that you wouldn't normally be. And I got to do a destination wedding for some clients of ours in Annapolis. And we got to do some cool stuff. But again, MagMod is so awesome because it gives such a great opportunity to create whatever lighting you need wherever you are. And for this, again, we're using that two MagMods on the bracket. And I can't wait to put up the bracket because I think it's such a great way to use MagMod with those mag spears and really create a nice soft look. And I use it all the time for brides and grooms. If you want a natural look, some people like a more dramatic, look, but for a natural look, it's really nice if you feather those two MagMods together.
That's great. That's cool. So you're saying this isn't the ocean that borders Ohio?
I wish it was. If you find that, can you let me know about it? I want to show this one. We talked for a minute about studio photography and using MagMod. This one is a mixture of different lighting. So this is, I have the MagMod on the back, and you can see that CTO gel kind of coming through on her arm a little bit as a hair light. And then on the front, I think I was using like a Westcott Octa or something like that. But I love popping in MagMod where I need, that extra bump in the back of something that separates my subject from the background a little bit, especially in studio, because
Yeah.
a lot of times people they can bleed into the background and you kind of lose the impact of any kind of depth in the image, especially on plain backgrounds where there really isn't any difference. It's just a color or whatever. It's nice to pop in that little bit of hair light so that you can separate, your subject from your background.
It's funny. I tell people if you want to really make a difference in your shots, one of the best things you can do is just add a rim light behind your subject. I mean, without that rim light, like you said, her hair would have kind of bled into the background, and then her arm down at the bottom, you can really see that definition because you get that little bit of light, giving her, just a little bit of kind of carves it out. It's amazing how just a simple rim light, like you said, a speed light with a grid, for example, helps to really enhance those photographs and take it to the next level. Tracie, one of the questions just came in and said, on this one, do you remember how you lit the background for this? Did you have a speed light pointing towards the background as well, or?
Think about that.
Do you remember?
Oh boy. So I think we were using copper for this shot. So I know this is weird. This isn't an actual paper background. So we have I have sheets. This is so weird. So I have sheets of copper in the studio. And I, for some reason, got a wild hair and decided it would be cool to shoot against. And it really was. But I have natural light in my studio too because we have windows. So there was a little bit of natural light spilling in, and you can imagine how reflective that copper is. So even the light coming from the front was reflecting off the copper a little bit. So I don't think that I actually had an actual light on the copper. I think that the CTO gel on the back coming toward her and then the front light with that Westcott was all that there was on that background.
That makes a lot of sense. And I even think, there's a little bit of brightness behind her, and I wouldn't even be surprised if some of the CTO gel bouncing off her hair and even just kind of lighting up a little bit behind her. I think it makes sense, especially being that it was a copper or metallic reflective surface like that. So
exactly. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that, Tracie.
Yeah.
getting
My
all kinds of
pleasure.
good information.
Oh, let's see about this one. Um, so um, this is interesting because this was a 10-year anniversary shot. Don't they look great?
Yeah. Gosh, I wish I looked that good at 10 years.
So, you know, again, MagMod is so great for creativity. And I think that, like in this image, for me, one of my favorite parts is that, that nice flare in the background. I think it's just, I like it. And some people might choose not to do that, but I just thought it really added impact to the image. But MagMod on the front is so awesome to bring keep their skin tones there. And, you know, for anyone who uses MagMod, and I know there are like so many people now who are in love with MagMod, one of the greatest things is that you still get your skin tones. Where before, when you're using regular, just bare flash, you lose all of that because you get like blasted with light and you don't have this nice soft feeling. And one thing that I just love about MagMod is how I often just feel like there's this really nice powdery light that I get. And that's something I adore. So again, the dual flash bracket on the front and a bare flash in the back to get that nice flare, and photoshopping out the stand.
Awesome. No, I love it. And you know what's interesting is I just started doing this myself. Using more of like MagMod's behind. I find that
Yeah,
when I use a grid, for example, I get this really cool flare.
I want to
So
do that.
yeah, no, it's really fun. I actually I just put a video together. Hopefully we'll release it soon. That shows some examples of using a mag grid behind and kind of creating that flare.
You
It's
did one.
fun.
Is it
So
just one grid? You just used one?
I just use one grid, yeah, and it creates kind of this really cool light that flares out really fast. Um, I like it. So it's very similar to this. This one is more like a starburst effect. In fact, I'm guessing you probably shot this at around f8, maybe,
Yes.
to get that bridge in the background and stuff, f11, something like that. And by the way, Nicole Hupp is asking, Tracie, are you in Cincinnati here? So you must recognize the
I
bridge, I'm guessing.
am. I am. That's the Roebling.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Um, and then we had one person say that Zeno is saying you got beautiful work. So we all agree with
Thank
that.
you. Thank you, Zeno.
Awesome, awesome. Tracie, I know we've covered a lot of pictures. Do you have a few more there that you want to share with us?
Sure. You didn't do this one. I'll do a couple more kids because I think like a lot of times kids get left behind because um, they move a lot or whatever. And I think sometimes it's easy to be afraid of shooting kids, or you just feel like it's exhausting, especially if it's not your comfort zone. Um, but one thing I found about kids is that they can make the most striking and emotional images if they're given an opportunity and if they're vested in it. And I love doing images of little girls around this age because if I chat with them a little bit and ask them what they want, and if we get to play in makeup a little bit, that helps too. Um, and we get to make beautiful things like this that you wouldn't think a little girl would want to do or would feel beautiful doing, but she definitely did. And again, this is, I meant to mention this last time a few minutes ago, when we were talking about that carving out of the light when we were showing that studio image with the CTO gel on the back.
Mm-hmm.
One of the reasons why we all love sunset pictures so much is because we get that naturally. And so, just to kind of restate what you were saying, adding that rim light really does do something, and it's why we all love shooting in the sunset. So, this was just before sunset, and you can see the backlight on her from the sun.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're doing again that dual mag mod on that flash bracket. And then I do have a reflector camera left that I'm kind of pushing some light back at her so we don't have the shadow from the brim of the hat.
Mm-hmm.
Was a little bit of an issue when you do that. And I'm also like, I'm shooting at like 1.8 for this image, and I'm shooting high speed sync again. And that's just because I really love the bokeh in the back. I love everything about maintaining all of that. So I do generally choose high speed sync, but that's just my style. And again,
Yeah.
you could use a filter if you wanted to, or you could stop down if that was your preference as well.
Love
So
it.
there's that.
I think that's a really popular look, and it works so well, especially with these beauty portraits, where you really want to bring the attention to their face and the subject and let that background just kind of, fade out of focus. Love it.
And not to like tell on myself at all or anything, but also when you shoot with wide open apertures, as long as your camera can give you sharp images at wide open apertures, then you also kind of save yourself a little bit on skin edits, because if you have sharp eyes, you might soften out a little bit on the nose and on the cheeks and the back. So depending on how shallow you can get your depth of field, you could really save yourself a lot in post on editing as well.
The great tip. Thanks, Tracie. Love it.
Yep. All right. One last one. You have a preference?
You know what? Let's do two more. Let's hit the one that you have your arrow on with the bride, and then I think you have one more child one that's to the left of the one we're looking at right now. You know what? You got the cherry blossoms too. Let's do three more, Tracie. I think we can squeeze them in.
Okay. Okay. So we in Cincinnati do not get a lot of cherry blossoms, but there is one park in particular that has a grove of weeping cherries, and they are absolutely stunning for about a week and a half to 2 weeks. And after that, you totally lose it. Um, so we had to perfectly time this particular session, and got a chance to go to the cherry blossoms and create this imagery. And again, MagMod just makes my life so easy, because it's just so easy to carry around anywhere in my pocket or whatever. And again, because I love the soft light, I'm going to be using my dual bracket with my 2-speed lights with the heads turned out, feathered just a little bit, so that that mag sphere light is hitting them right in the center of that. And we got lucky this day. The light was fairly even as well under the grove of trees. So there's that one.
Beautiful. That's a stunner.
Thank you. And this one, again, I love natural light, and I love the images to look natural. So, anytime I get an opportunity to mix natural light and mag sphere, I will do it every single time, and give myself an opportunity to create really stunning stuff with just, a minimalistic setup. So here we have MagMod Mag Sphere again, with just a little pop of light camera right here on her to give her just a little fill in, so she isn't completely in shadow. But I did want to leave some definition there as well with the shadow, so I didn't fill her in completely.
So Tracie, the light behind her is coming from the window.
Correct.
And then you just added a tiny bit of flash just so that her face wasn't in the shadows, basically. In other words, really dark. So we have her lit up just a little bit. Yeah.
Right. You can see the sun's actually pretty bright. Yeah.
Yeah. And for those who are interested, we've discussed this before, but Tracie's choosing to shoot on the short side of the face, basically the shadow side of the face. And a lot of times we do that as photographers because it's just more flattering, especially for women, to be shot on that shadow side of the face. So
absolutely.
Love it, love it. So Tracie, thanks so much for your time. Let's finish with that one image. I think the only one that we haven't covered is that one there. Can we talk about that one as well? Super cute.
So there's a bit of a fairy obsession going on, and we had an opportunity to shoot this little sweetheart in a creek, and so I love MagMod for creeks. If you haven't shot in a creek and almost fallen in 500 times yet with your MagMod, you are not doing it right. So, we're like precariously balanced on rocks and trying to create images with MagMod on flash stands, and it's a blast. But we on this one, the sun again is behind her, and we have mag spheres on again in the front, and again it's so great to not have to worry about electricity in situations like this where you're close to water. And so we did a whole section of images with this creek and this little girl. And for those of anybody who wants to know, the wings clearly were added afterwards as an overlay in Photoshop. So those are not real wings, and I don't know where to tell you to buy them. So just in case.
No, but it's super cute, and I love the little fairy dust twinkles that are there too. Gorgeous shot. And I think you bring up a good point with regards to when you're shooting around water, not having to bring batteries and electricity and so forth, especially when you're portable, being able to use your lights, and again, you use the Olympus flashes.
Yes.
Throw some MagMods on there, and you get yourself a nice portable light that's essentially water resistant. We don't want those flashes to fall in the water, of course, but a lot more resistant than, let's say, a big battery pack or something like that. So
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Awesome job, Tracie. Hey, Tracie, let's go ahead and bring you back so everyone can see your face again.
Okay. If I can do it right. There we go.
There we go. Awesome. Tracie, where can everybody find your work if they want to check out more of your stuff? Can you tell us, are you on Instagram, Facebook, website, that kind of stuff?
So the website is www.traciejeanphoto.com. At Instagram, we're at Tracie Jean Photo, and it's TRACIE. I will be at PPOC in Canada, if we have any Canadian viewers, which is on May 1st and 2nd. And I will be presenting there on maternity and newborn photography. And then I will also be at Precision Camera in Austin, Texas on May 5th through the 7th doing a workshop on weddings. And MagMod will be there for that as well.
Nice. Awesome, Tracie. That is great information. Hey, you have given us so many good tips. A lot of awesome things that we've learned. And guys, you can always go back and watch these. For whatever reason, Facebook takes about 10 or 15 minutes once we finish the broadcast to actually post it. So if it doesn't show up right away, come back in about a half hour and you'll see it. And then Tracie said that when she gets a chance, maybe today or tomorrow, you'll go in there and just kind of check out the thread and maybe answer any additional questions that might pop up. And then if you guys are watching this on YouTube, because we post these within a couple days on YouTube, if you're watching on YouTube and you would like to be part of these live conversations that we have with these incredible photographers like Tracie, feel free to join us in the MagMod community. So if you just search Facebook, search MagMod community, and you'll find us. And we typically try to do these about once a week, usually on Wednesdays. So Tracie, you did an amazing job. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.